It's getting real, guys. The roster has trimmed down from 90 to 53 people as we prepare to go to Miami to beat the Dolphins. Let's talk about this roster. Now, before we get into this roster, I did want to let you guys know that this video is brought to you by BetUS. And guys, check out BetUS. I'll put on this screen all the different types of bets you guys can make when it comes to NFL futures, from Josh Allen's sack numbers to over-under on wins to, Trevor Lawrence's passing touchdowns. Guys, there's a whole lot of stuff you guys can do over there on BetUS. And they are sponsoring this channel, and with that, they are going to give you guys a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. And, what makes them the best? Look, they have 24/7 customer service. They have quick 24-hour payouts and even 10% gambler's insurance if you guys stay active. So they're going to give you guys back some of your losses if that were to come, but not on here. We win our bets, and for you guys to win your bets, guys, check out the description down below as well as a link. They'll hook you up over there. Now, with that said, let's go check out this Jaguars 53-man roster. Also, not only BetUS, but shout out to PowerPoint for letting me be able to put this in a nice little way. So we'll start off with quarterbacks. The Jaguars keep 2 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones. Now, this one was pretty obvious, especially the Jaguars traded for Mac Jones. And, we saw that the Jaguars actually have a pretty good quarterback too. So if Trevor Lawrence does go through an unfortunate injury, at least we feel like the Jaguars have a starting caliber quarterback in a Mac Jones. And, I would expect him to get another chance to start somewhere, kind of like Gardner Minshew has with, the Raiders, or we've seen, Jacoby Brissett go around the NFL and get different opportunities places. I would expect Mac Jones to potentially be that kind of player, like a bridge quarterback. But for now, the Jaguars will be able to reap his benefits if it comes to that, and he actually does have the unfortunate opportunity of playing here. So the Jaguars cut C.J. Beathard and E.J. Perry. C.J. Beathard is always injured, been on the roster since 2021. So the Jaguars move on. So the Jaguars do only keep 2 quarterbacks, and E.J. Perry, I imagine, will be a practice squad guy because you need another camp arm. Next up, running backs. The Jaguars keep 3, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and D'Ernest Johnson. Keelan Robinson will be on the IR, so the Jaguars will keep him, but he doesn't count against the 53, so I included him on there. The Jaguars cut Jalen Jackson and Gary Brightwell. These ones aren't really too confusing. Like, this one was actually pretty clear and cut, I think. I don't think Jalen Jackson or Gary Brightwell really proved that they should have a spot on the Jaguars roster. And with this, you see Travis Etienne, RB1. Tank Bigsby has really emerged, I think, this preseason, and I expect a lot more carries out of Tank just because the amount of carries that they were given to Etienne just wasn't sustainable. He's not built to be a 25 touches per game type of running back. You can start off with him like that, but we see the diminishing returns once the simmer comes. So, hopefully Tank Bigsby can, really take some of those harder yards from Travis Etienne. They continue to find ways to get Travis Etienne out in space. And D'Ernest Johnson will round that one out. Wide receivers. The Jags keep 6. Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Devin Duvernay, all locks. Parker Washington really played himself into a lock this preseason. He's also a pretty good punt returner. And don't mark me now. Don't get mad at me here, but Christian Kirk might not be on a roster in 2025 because I can tell you guys this. I think Parker Washington at this point in his NFL career was better than Christian Kirk in his second year in the NFL. And the Jaguars going to want to find a way to keep Parker Washington on the field. And also, when you look at the Jaguars, they're paying a lot of money to a quarterback, pass rusher, a cornerback. They need to give contracts to Andre Sisco. We don't have a left tackle under contract outside of Javon Foster going into 2025. So, a lot of times you want to find cheap labor, and Parker Washington was, a 5th or 6th round pick. That's cheap labor, but it's a conversation for another time, right? And then the Jaguars have Tim Jones as wide receiver 6. This one was all pretty obvious to me. I think, with the wide receiver 6, you look for a guy that, can be a gunner on special teams, can block well. And number 3 is to be able to, catch the ball. I was telling people Austin Tramwell would not make the roster, even though he had a pretty good preseason. I just didn't see his special teams ability being able to fit here, especially when it comes in punt return, when the Jaguars have Devin Duvernay, Parker Washington, and if they're in a real big of a bind, they can easily put Christian Kirk back there too. So those are some items there. Denzel Mims, Joshua Cephas, both cut. Seth Williams, Joshua Skates, and Elijah Cooks all off the roster. I imagine the Jaguars will try to bring back Elijah Cooks under the practice squad, or he very well might get a look somewhere else. But, Joshua Cephas is another guy to look at for a practice squad spot. Next up, tight ends, Evan Ingram, Britton Strange, and Luke Farrell. The Jaguars keep 3, even though they do like to have 3 tight ends on the field a lot, so they definitely keep active with these guys. The guys that were cut were Chris Myrick, Joshua Jaguar, Sean Bowman, and Patrick Murtaugh. So the big takeaway here, Evan Ingram, he's only getting better and better each year, and him and Trevor Lawrence's chemistry is off the charts. Britton Strange is, hopefully we see a lot more out of him. The Jaguars invested a 2nd-round pick in him, definitely a premium draft pick. So I hope, because during the preseason we've seen him play mostly with the second teamers. So we hope that he can kind of put on in a big way. But we move on. Offensive line, the Jaguars keep 10. You have your starters and left tackle Cam Robinson, left guard Ezra Cleveland, center Mitch Morse, right guard Brandon Sheriff, and right tackle Anton Harrison. And then you have Walker Little as kind of the swing tackle. Javon Foster didn't really have a great preseason, but he'll be able to fill in as a developmental player. Jaguars spent the 4th-round pick in him, so they'll keep him around. Cooper Hodges will be a backup center and guard. Luke Fortner, hopefully we never have to see his ass. And Cole Van Lanen as, another depth piece. So the Jaguars cut Keaton Sutherland, Blake Hance, Stephen Jones, Tyler Shatley, and Darrell Williams. We'll see. I think Stephen Jones will be a good practice squad candidate. Tyler Shatley, he announced this year that it was going to be his last year playing football, so I almost wondered if the Jaguars bother with putting him on the practice squad, or if they say, hey, Tyler, wink, wink, nod, nod, stay healthy, stay in Jacksonville, because, we know he lives in Jacksonville. If we need you, we're going to call you up, okay? But we don't want to waste a practice squad spot on you. So, I imagine maybe he stays around, but just kind of stays in shape, stays next door. Save yourself a practice squad spot. So we'll see. Not too many surprising things here, really, besides, Jaguars keep Luke Fortner, but he's got that 3rd-round pick armor, so he stays because of that. Next up at edge, you have Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead is listed as an edge rusher, and also rookie Miles Cole in the 7th round. Now, Miles Cole makes the roster, and it's kind of surprising. He was a big, bulky pick. He was a 7th rounder, had like the longest arms in the draft class. He was, he's big old dude. And he actually played himself into a roster spot for the Jaguars. While the Jaguars cut Joe Gazzanio, Raymond Johnson, Breland Speaks, and DJ Coleman. Which the big thing was it in between Miles Cole and DJ Coleman. Jaguars will definitely try to bring back a DJ Coleman, but with Trevis Gibson getting traded, they feel pretty good about Miles Cole, because I don't think they're going to go out and try to find a veteran, because they had that in Trevis Gibson, so they must have liked Miles Cole so much they didn't want to risk losing him. So hopefully he's able to stay on the roster for a whole year, then he gets another year to develop, but maybe basically a year from now, he's still on the roster and he actually plays himself into a good role for the team. But, he definitely has a lot to work on. So Trevis Gibson traded for a late-round pick. Thought he would have a pretty good impact on the Jags this year, but I guess not. So we basically bought a 6th-round pick for $1 million is what that pretty much amounts to be. Next up, the Jaguars on the defensive line, Devon Hamilton, Roy Robertson Harris, Jordan Jefferson, and Mason Smith, a couple of LSU rookies, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Tyler Lacey, and Asizi Atemuewo. I don't know how to say that. He spent the whole year on the practice squad last year. They all make the team, while Jaguars cut Jonathan Marshall. So not too much to really comment on here. Everything's pretty straightforward. Got a lot of potential here. So yeah, we move on. Linebackers, Afoye Luick and Devin Lloyd are your starters. Chad Muma is your 3rd linebacker. Ventrell Miller playing his first full season after tearing his Achilles in 2023. Caleb Johnson, the special teams ace. And Yasir Abdullah, who can also go in there at edge rusher and rush the passer a little bit. While the Jaguars cut Tanner Muse and Andrew Parker, a couple guys the Jags might look to bring back to the practice squad. So we move on. Cornerbacks, Tyson Campbell, Ronald Darby, Jarian Jones, and DeAndre Prince, a couple of rookies, and Monteric Brown make the team. I know a lot of people, and I have Monteric Brown listed near his cut too. That's my bad. He did make the team. The big surprise here was that the Jaguars cut Christian Braswell, which I wasn't really that surprised about. I actually think that Monteric Brown is a pretty good cover corner, which is actually what Ryan Nielsen wants the cornerbacks to be able to do. And, on this list also, the Jaguars have Darnell Savage, but for some reason he's listed as a safety, but he's going to be a slot cornerback for the Jaguars. So they basically have 6 cornerbacks on the roster with guys like Tavon Campbell, Trey Flowers, Eric Hallett, and Amani Uwari all getting cut. So not too much to say there. Hopefully guys like DeAndre Prince can develop into a good outside corner. Safeties, 4 safeties. We have Andre Sisco, Antonio Johnson as your starters. Then you have Daniel Thomas and Darnell Savage also there. And then also Andrew Wingard will start the year off on the IR. So he will not cost the Jaguars a roster spot right now. So with that said, the Jaguars cut a couple of, actually a few safeties that have a lot of experience. Adrian Amos, Tashawn Gibson, and Terrell Edmonds, while the Jaguars also cut Josh Proctor. So safety position, pretty much, not too much to say here. I think we all kind of expected this to happen. Next up, specialists. This was the easiest battle in the world. You have Ross Matzik, who is a Pro Bowl long snapper. You also have Logan Cook, who is a big-time punter, one of the better punters in the NFL. And Cam Little, who I'm trying not to get too hype on, but he's been perfect through preseason. He looks like a really solid kicker. The only thing he's missed is a 62-yarder, which you can't really expect a guy to be able to make. But I am definitely intrigued, but I'm not going to get too hype until I actually see him make a kick in a regular season. But everything is looking good so far. So with that said, that's the Jaguars 53-man roster breakdown. Let me know what you guys think. Are you happy with this? Are you annoyed with it? Would definitely love to hear all your guys' thoughts. And with that said, we move forward, okay? We move forward. The preseason is over. The roster is down to 53 people. I expect maybe the Jaguars can look at, I think maybe a cornerback would be the main thing the Jaguars look at on bringing in. I don't think we're going to be too active on the waiver wire. I think the roster is pretty much set. So with all that said, let me know what you guys think. And on your way out, please drop a like. And also a huge shout out to BetUS. Remember, 125% deposit bonus down below. And I will see you guys on Club Jaguar tomorrow night.